Petrilli here with a new episode of the Riff Rundown. So excited. Here with the awesome folks at Fishman doing another one of these. This is going to be a blast. I'm going to be teaching You Can't Always Get What You Want by the Rolling Stones. I always see lessons on this in open E with Capo on the 8th fret, and I figured why not teach one electric with Capo on the 5th fret like Keith does when he plays this one live. So that's what we're going to be doing today. If you have an acoustic guitar, totally cool. You can still do this. It's all the same stuff, totally fine. But I wanted to play my Tele today, so that's what we're going to do. So before we get started here, tuning real quick. We're going to be in open G tuning. Tune your E string down to D, your A string down to G, your D string, G string, and B string, keep them the same, and then your E string, tune it down to D. So folks who are tuning in now, if there are people coming in late and they're asking what the tuning is, I'd really appreciate it if you let them know so they're not lost, so that they can play with us too. So really appreciate that. And yeah, we'll keep them on board with all of us. So before I get started, folks, let me know where you're tuning in from and your favorite Rolling Stones album. So let me know those two things. We're gonna go through this part by part. This one's gonna be a lot of fun. Also, have a capo handy too. We're gonna need it today. So here we go, folks. Here's You Can't Always Get What You Want. That's the song we're going to be learning today. This one's really fun. My beginners, don't worry, you guys can play this along with us too. It's really fun. So folks, as I mentioned at the top of the hour, this is a pre-recorded lesson. Don't worry, I'll be back. And we're also in an open tuning here. We are in open G tuning. Notes are going to be in the show notes so you know how to get your guitar in this tuning. So either acoustic or electric is totally cool. As I mentioned, I haven't seen lessons where they play this electric on the 5th fret in open G. So I figured we'd do it today. It'd be a lot of fun. So let's go ahead and get started here. So we're going to be in open tuning. I am going to be calling the strings as if we were in standard tuning just to make sure, you know, we don't get confused with the string names and all of that. I know we're in an open tuning, but I'm going to call the strings by their regularly standard names, okay? So what we're going to do here, first finger, second finger, and our third finger. We're going to do this quick little chord at the top of it. So first finger, we're going to put that on the 1st fret of the B string. Your second finger, 2nd fret of the D string, and your third finger, placing that on the 2nd fret of that E string. So it's going to sound like this. And you're going to strum it from the A string downward. And then release, open. Like that. Okay, so let's do that a couple times here. Real quick. And also with this, I want to mention this. With this song, I don't do this for a lot of songs, but this song, it felt really comfortable for me. I am using the dull end of the pick. I'm not using the pick, like the sharper side. I'm using the dull side. It feels a little bit more comfortable for me when I play this song live. So that's what I'm doing here. Give it a try. If it's a little too wacky for you, don't worry, hold the pick like you usually do, but I thought I'd mention that here. So, nice and simple here. Let's talk about that little riff. Keep it nice and loose. Think like Keith, right? Nice and loose and fun. Let these chords breathe. Okay, that's what makes this song so magical. So after we do that, get your second finger, placing that on the second fret of the G string. And we're going to strum again from that A string downward. And then release. Okay, so that's going to be the very top. Let's go ahead and run through that very quickly here. I'll take this slow. Let's do that one more time. Okay, if we play that a little faster, it sounds like this. Now the next bit. All we're doing here, right, we're getting that second finger, putting that on the second fret of the G string, and then we're playing the chord, right, the open tuning, we're playing it open. Just like that. One finger chord, it's great. Just like that, folks. That's it, okay? So let's go ahead, take this whole part nice and slow from the very top of the intro. Here we go. Let's do that again. One more time. Let's do it one more time a little faster. Okay, not too bad, right? These chords aren't too bad. Again, open tuning, it does a lot of the work for us. It's really, really cool. So after we do that, those hammer-ons, right, with our second finger on the second fret of the G string, play this chord next. We're going to get our first finger, placing that on the first fret of that B string. Get your second finger, reach up to the second fret of that D string. Go ahead and strum the A string downward. Now with Keith Richards, right, he's pretty famous for not playing this E string up here. We're doing that too. So we're not going to be playing this E string. I happen to use this guitar for other songs. If I was strictly playing only Rolling Stones, I'd probably take this off too. Those of you who are huge Stone fans, give it a try. Just take off that E string. So we're going to be ignoring the big E string is all I'm saying here. So we're not going to be using it today. That's all right. We'll use it for something else. So here we go again from the top. Now, there are going to be 4 parts in this intro, okay? So here's part 1. So we have... part number 1. Okay, so let's break that down. Second finger, well, first we're going to have the open D string. Second finger is going to hammer on the second fret of that D string. Open G string, open A string. So the riff sounds like this. So that's riff number 1. Let's go through it real quick. Remember, there are going to be 4 more after this. This is the first one. So there we go. Let's do that again. So there it is. That's riff 1. Let's go ahead and look at riff 2. So riff 2 is going to look and sound like this. Okay, so let me do that again here. That's what we want. So let's go ahead and play that. You're going to get the open D string, second finger, hammer on that second fret of the D string, Put your first finger down on the first fret of that B string. You're gonna play that B string and that G string together, and then release the first finger, B and G string together. So it'll sound like this. One more time. So now let's go ahead, combine parts 1 and part 2. Here we go, with that little intro, why not? Here's part 1. Here's part 2. Let's do that again. Here we go, from the top. Those 2 parts. Now let's go ahead and look at part 3 here. Part 3 is going to look and sound like this. So what we're going to do here, again, those hammer-ons on the D string, right? Open D string, second finger hammer onto that second fret of the D string, open G string, open B string. Makes a nice chord. Okay, so now let's combine these 3 parts with that little bit of the intro. Here we go. Part 1. Part 2. Go ahead and do that again, nice and slowly here. So there they are. There are those 3 parts. We got 1 more to go, and it's going to sound like this. Okay, so here's how we do that. Open D string, hammer on yet again, second finger, second fret of that D string, and open G string and open B string, like that. You can choose to hybrid pick that or strum it. Okay, up to you. Again, Keith does this different every time. We want to get as close to the original, at least that original intro as we can get, but know that Keith always plays it a little different. He'll add his little things. At the end of the lesson, I'll go ahead and show you something you could add along to this too. So let's go ahead and now look at that last bit. And now let's add it to the rest of the parts. So here we go. Okay, very similar to what we just did, same chords we're working around. All right, we're going between a 1 chord and a 4 chord here. So here's what those verses sound like, at least this first little bit that we're gonna do. So like this, here we go. in there, let's go ahead and talk about it. Again, those hammer-ons. With that second finger, second fret of that G string, right? So the hammer-on with it open, and then you go ahead and put on the second fret. Okay, that's our common thread that is tying all of these chords together within that verse, okay? So. Okay, going back, first finger on that first fret of the B string, second finger, second fret of the D string. But what we're gonna do here, get that third finger, let's put it back on the second fret of that E string. It's gonna sound like this. Okay, then what we do here is we play this chord, and you're gonna lift that third finger. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that again. Here we go. Okay, so that's what's happening there. So that's part one of that verse. Awesome chords. Keith's the coolest. So now what we're gonna do here is part two. So part two sounds like this. Go ahead and play the D string open, hammer on with that second fret on the D string, open G string, open B string, just like that. Now let's combine both parts. Here's the top of the verse. And I'm playing a little slower here. Part two. Again, take your time. So once we do that, so that happens once, right? And then after we do for the duration of it until we get to that major 2 chord, which we'll talk about in a second, which is just so great. We're gonna go and just do this. We're gonna keep repeating that part 1. So we're going to keep doing that. Also, too, I do want to mention I've got a touch of delay. I'm using the Greg Koch signature Fishman Fluence Tele pickups. They rock. It's like immediate Keith Richards. I love it. I have it on setting, too, which is just like Keith Richards, like the Keith Richards button. It's awesome. And I've got a touch of delay. I'm using the Strymon Capistan tape delay on here and then going straight through my amp. That's it. As far as the amp goes, I'm going through a Fender Blues Junior that's me mic'd up with an SM57. So that's what's happening there. Let's go ahead and talk about the pre-chorus here, right? So we've got this as the pre-chorus. Tasty stuff. So we've got our part 1 chord, right? Then we're gonna go to our major 2. We're gonna do here, put this first finger across the second fret of the A, D, G, B, and E string. If we're talking in terms of the capo, this would be an A chord. Okay, but in actuality, it's not. It's actually a D chord, but in terms of the capo, we're gonna call it A. All right, and we're just gonna let it ring. Then we're gonna do this fun little riff. Get your first finger, put that on the second fret of that A string. Open D string. Hammer on with that first finger, second fret of that D string. And then open G string. So it's going to sound like this. Let's do that again nice and slow. Now let's include it with our 1 chord to our major 2. So we've got 4 chord, major 2, okay, let's go ahead and do that again. 1, is that 4? That A, riff. Okay, pretty cool stuff, right? So now what we're gonna do here is we're gonna go into that next bit. Gonna do a really cool hammer on there with that 4 chord. So I want you to strum the open, right, since this open G. We're going to hammer on here, first finger, first fret of that B string, second finger, second fret of that D string, yeah. Just like that. Now we're going to do here is we're going to do this lick. Okay, so we've got our hammer on chord here, the 4 chord. Open D string, hammer on second fret of that D string. Open G string, second fret D string, open D string, and that's the riff, okay? So let's go ahead and go from that A chord. We're gonna do this a couple times. Let's do that again. Wrong note totally. Come on, Angela, we're live. There we go, let's do that again. Let's do that again. One more time. Okay, so once we get to that point, strum that open, right? The open G tuning that we are in, strum it. Again, the dynamics are changing, right? The things are building, the voices are starting to come in. It's really, really cool. So, and then go to that 4 chord. And this is a part where like Keith will just kind of do something a little extra. So let's throw that in there just to give you some ideas. This is something that I like to do when I play this. First finger, first fret of the B string, second finger, second fret of the G string, and slide it up a whole step. And then bring it back. And then do a nice little hammer on. Like that. Gives it some nice movement. Again, that's just like one idea of like a gazillion. I encourage you guys, watch some of the live versions of the Stones playing the song from the 80s, 90s, 70s. Watch a bunch of versions of this. You can always come up with really cool stuff and see just how incredibly creative and inventive Keith is with these open tunings. So I encourage you guys to give it a shot. So what we're going to do here, I'm going to run through the whole thing. Folks, this is the whole song. It's a fun one. So I'll run through it. And again, this is always such a blast, folks. If you're enjoying these lessons, be sure to subscribe to the channel, Angela Petrilli Music, on YouTube. Would love it if you did. Helps the cause. And again, thanks to the folks at Fishman for helping me do these every week. If you guys are interested in the gear that I'm using too, I'll go ahead and leave a link in the show notes so you guys can check it out and learn more about these pickups because they totally rock. They're a lot of fun. So here we go from the very top. Can't always get what you want. So there you go, folks. A really, really fun one to play. Again, really making sure that you just have a lot of fun with this. I want you to have fun with this. Explore these open tunings. They are such a blast. And again, as if you notice, these chords weren't particularly difficult. You know, a lot of this stuff, okay, 2, 3 fingers. That one there is probably the toughest one, right? But make sure we've got a good grip. As I'm sure you've seen in a lot of my previous lessons, right, that relationship between that first finger and thumb. And whenever we're doing any kind of bar stuff is really, really important and crucial for having really, really good technique. So just things to keep in mind here. And again, Keith plays this different every time, so feel free. I want you guys to get creative, to be inspired by this song, and just listen to a lot of versions and see how he changes things around, right? Even the strumming patterns, I encourage you guys, watch and see like, oh yeah, kind of did a really cool little rhythm there. Him and Ronnie Wood, that play that they do on stage in particular is really, really quite beautiful to watch, to see the interplay between the two of them and encapsulating the energy of the song. So it's really, really cool stuff. So I encourage you guys, please go and check it out. Again, these are some killer pickups. I'm just loving these Fluence. These Fluence Tele pickups are pretty rad. It's like instant, as I mentioned, like totally instant Keith. It's really fantastic. So again, folks, I hope you had fun with this one. I always enjoy teaching you guys, particularly Stone songs. They are such a blast. So I encourage you guys on acoustic or electric, whatever is comfortable for you when you're playing this tune. Because again, we hear the intro of the song on the album, it's acoustic. When they play this live, a lot of times it is done on a Tele or on an electric guitar. So again, have fun with this stuff because it's a super, super fun one to play. And again, a lot of folks ask me, hey, you know, what's a good introductory song for open tuning? I think this is one of them. So really, really fun one to get your hands around, and everybody knows the song. It's a good one to sing along to, and it's only a couple chords, and it's just a blast. So again, my name is Angela Petrilli. Thank you so much for joining me with this episode of the Riff Rundown. Again, if you're having a blast, you're enjoying these lessons, share them with a friend. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. It was a blast. Thank you to the folks at Fishman, and thank you to you for helping make these happen. It is such a blast. So everyone, take good care. Wishing you much success